or in other words, there is no further use. That is called waste. We generate a huge amount of waste in our daily life. We throw waste materials after eating, after usage, and different food wraps, plastic bags, plastic covers. We discard after using, after consuming different food materials, the waste we dispose outside. It's all parts of the activities that contribute the generation of waste. The impact of solid waste around us may not be visible, but it undoubtedly affects us. Sorry for the interruption. Power fluctuations are there. Okay. Yes. What is solid waste? Solid waste is unwanted waste. It is useless outside. The waste material generated by the human activities in residence or in industrial purpose, in commercial areas, whatever the source, the waste is generating. In early waste disposal, in the disposal method, in ancient Rome, the property owners responsible for cleaning their streets, fronting their properties. But organized waste collection was associated with only sponsored events like parades. The disposal methods were very crude, involving in open pits located just outside the cities that may impact the environment adversely and that cause it to many diseases in humans. And the waste categorization. The waste categorization based on origin, The origin may be domestic, industrial, commercial, and construction and institutional waste categories. The based on the contents, waste type of waste, that may be glass, metal, plastic, and paper, etc. And another categorization is based on hazard potential. Depending on their toxicity and non-toxicity, the hazard potential may be flammable, radioactive, or the categorization of the waste. The generation of waste is a part of human activities in day-to-day human lifestyle. We are generating that waste. The waste can be generated in various sources. Depending on the origin, that is domestic, industrial, commercial, and construction and demolition waste. And another one is the institutional waste. The first one is the domestic waste. The domestic waste, it includes trash or garbage from households, schools, offices, and marketplaces, restaurants, and other places the waste is originating. Everyday items like food debris, used plastic bags, plastic water bottles, broken furniture, and other home appliances and clothing. These are waste generated from such sources. And another one is institutional waste. Paper, cardboard, and different chemicals we are using in laboratories. That is the institutional waste. And industrial source of waste. These industrial source of waste are released from manufacturing industries and processing industries like chemical plants, cement factories, and power plants, textile industries, food processing units, and, and refineries. These sectors produce different type of waste products with the industrial origin. Next one is the commercial source of origin. In modern cities, industries, automobiles, the wastes are generated daily on the large scale from commercial enterprises. These may be include food item, different food items, disposable medical items, textiles. These are the best examples of the commercial sources. Another important source is, depending on the origin, construction and construction waste. The concrete debris, wood, and huge packages and plastics from the building materials that comprise construction waste, which yielded as part of construction of buildings, construction of roads, and demolition of old buildings, and demolition structures of the old buildings that also generate waste. These waste are called demolition waste. And other sources are there: agricultural waste, mining, and radioactive wastes. The radioactive waste sources include nuclear reactors, and mining of radioactive substances, and atomic explosions are the sources of the radioactive waste. And mining sources generation of waste that have potential to disturb the physical, chemical, and biological features of the land and atmosphere. The waste include the overburden of materials, mine tailing, the waste left after extracting of the ores from the rocks, and harmful gases released by the blasting process. It is all related to mining sources. And another important source is agricultural source of waste. The waste generated by the agricultural activities, including horticulture, livestock, and gardens, and nurseries, generate the waste. These are all including in agricultural source of waste. The waste generated from these sources include empty pesticide cans, containers, and oil spillage wrap, and used tire, and corn husks. These are the sources of the agricultural waste. And next, contents of the waste categorization. Organic material. The organic waste, all plants and animal-based materials that can decompose naturally in the environment. This includes food scraps, and eel trimmings, paper and cardboard. Even some of the degradable plastic. When organic waste is composted, it breaks down into nutrient-rich soil that can be used to grow the plants. This process helps to reduce the waste, reduce the amount of the waste that goes into landfills, and it also helps to improve the fertility of the soil and improve the soil quality. Organic waste is a valuable resource that can be used to help in sustain life on the earth by composting organic waste. By composting organic waste, we can help to reduce pollution and improve the soil quality and create more sustainable future, sustainable culture. That is organic waste. And another contains glass, metal, plastic, paper. Glass, metals, plastics are non-biodegradable and plastic is most dangerous to the environment. It cannot degrade up to 1,000 years. And hazardous potential, categorization of the hazard potential. The first, what is hazardous waste? The waste defined as any substance or material that can harmful effects on the health of the people and the environment. The hazardous waste often vary from one another. The hazardous waste categorization different risks and disposable methods consisting in hazard potential, two types of waste consisting toxic and non-toxic waste. The toxic waste is non-biodegradable. The non-toxic waste is biodegradable. It poses a serious threat to human health and the environment. Non-biodegradable threat to the human health and environment, and it does not pose a serious it does not pose non-toxic waste. The toxic waste examples are lead, cadmium, mercury that can pose to the danger to the environment, and that can contaminate the source water source and land. And non-toxic wastes are leftover food, fruits and vegetable waste, and paper waste. flammable radioactive infectious waste depending on their hazard potential. The waste characteristics and their hazard potential, ignitability, corrosivity, reactivity, and the toxicity. The ignitability is the any waste that is flammable and that can create the fires in the environment. Examples of these include the liquids with frost points below 40 degrees centigrade, 140 degree Fahrenheit, non-liquids with the potential to ignite the specific conditions, compressed gases, and corrosive waste, corrosivity, any waste that can rust or decompose, or ability to melt materials, that is corrosivity, and the reactivity, another hazard potential, any waste that is explosive and unstable under the normal conditions. This waste capable of explosion and detonation that may produce toxic gases into the environment. And toxicity, any waste that poisonous and ingested or absorbed by the material, that is called toxicity. Lithium sulfur batteries and other materials can cause death when swallowed the material. And radioactive waste. The radioactive waste is activities that generated as a byproduct of producing materials. The radioactive waste is hazardous because it emits radioactive particles, which not properly managed. If we not properly managed radioactive particles, it can be risks to human health and the environment as well. And another hazard potential is infectious waste. Biomedical waste containing infectious materials generated during the treatment of humans, animals, and as well as during research. The infectious waste is blood or other kind of waste, contaminated waste. The lab test, autopsies waste, laboratory animals waste, and waste from installation such as bandages, disposable medical devices, swabs, and other medical equipment that are called infectious waste. and solid waste types depending on their sources. The first is municipal solid waste. It consists of household waste, construction and demolition, C&D, and sanitation residue, waste from streets, generated mainly from residential and commercial complexes. As per the MOF, it includes commercial and residential waste generated in municipal or notified areas. The municipal solid waste, more commonly known as garbage or trash, consists of everyday items we use and then we throw outside, such as packaging products, furniture, clothing, batteries, and bottles, waste scraps, newspapers, appliances, paint batteries. These are examples of municipal solid waste. Municipal solid waste further divided into biodegradable and non-biodegradable, recyclable and infectious and hazardous domestic waste. The biodegradable waste, food, food waste, vegetable peels, and wet kitchen waste are the biodegradable waste in municipal solid waste. And recyclable waste in municipal solid waste includes plastic and hazardous waste. It includes bulb and batteries in everyday using materials, and industrial solid waste. In majority of cases, hazardous waste they contain toxic substances that may be corrosive, flammable, or reactive. If that material or waste exposed to the environment, that can lead damage to the environment and human health. For example, gases, releasing of toxic gases releasing into the environment can impact the air quality, and biomedical waste and hospital waste. It is usually infectious waste that may include waste shark, spoil waste, animal waste, laboratory waste, and different cultures in laboratory, discarded medicines that are the biomedical waste. And usually in the form of disposable. Next, solid waste management. The definition is the discipline associated with control of generation of waste. The solid waste management include generation of solid waste, storage and collection, transport of waste materials, and distribution of waste. It is usually in the form of disposable. Next, solid waste management. The definition is the discipline associated with control of generation of waste, storage, and collection, transport of waste materials, storage, and collection, transport of waste materials. and processing of waste and disposal of solid waste materials. These are all including solid waste management. And another important waste is in municipal solid waste, C and D, demolition debris, construction and demolition debris generated when any construction demolition activities takes place, such as building roads, bridges, flyovers, subways. It consists of mostly inert and non-biodegradable materials such as concrete, plaster, metal and wood and plastic. These materials using in the construction and demolition waste category. It comes under the municipal solid waste management. These C&D waste, heavy and having high density, it often bulky waste occupy the considerable storage place, storage space, either on the road or community waste bins and container vehicles. This occupy considerable space. It is not uncommon to see huge piles of such waste which is heavy as well. Waste from small generators like individual house construction find its way into the nearby municipal bins. And often it finds its way into surface drains. It consists of about 10 to 20% of the municipal solid waste, excluding large construction projects. The C&D waste estimated the generation in 10 to 12 million tons of waste annually. The recycling of material from construction and demolition waste, it may reduce the demand supply gap in these sectors. The renewable items, bricks, wood, and tiles are recycled, and concrete, these can be recycled from the construction and demolition waste. The next one is solid waste management. How it is managed? There are two methods: centralized methods and decentralized methods. The solid waste management is a major problem for urban cities where urbanization and industrialization have resulted in increasing in municipal solid waste generation. Increasing per person of solid waste 1.5 kg. Effective of solid waste management is a major challenge in cities with high population density. Achieving sustainable development with a country experiencing rapid population growth and improving living standard, and it is made difficult to manage the solid waste because India is a diverse country with many different religious groups, cultures, and traditions. Despite in social, economic, and environmental areas, solid waste management systems in India remain unchanged. The informal sector has key role in extracting the value from the waste. Approximately 90% of residual waste currently dumped rather than properly landfilling. Because there is an urgent need to move to more sustainable solid waste management, which requires new management systems and waste management facilities. The current solid waste management systems, the waste having negative impact on the public health and on environment and especially on the economy. And how it is managed, solid waste management, centralized method and decentralized method. A centralized method involves collection of municipal waste from all over the local area and by means of landfilling open dump outside on the city and panchayat raj limits. Centralized waste management system which all waste generated in an area is collected and transported to a central location or such a place for processing and disposal. Some advantages and disadvantages are there in centralized waste management system. The advantages of centralized method is centralized system allows greater efficiency of waste and cost effectiveness in waste management, and waste is processed in a single location, and this is easier to manage, and that waste is collected and processed by a single entity. And centralized method allows for the recovery of valuable materials through the recycling and recovery process in centralized method. Disadvantages are also there in centralized method, it requires large amount of infrastructure and resources to manage the expensive and maintenance, and it requires long transportation to distances to move waste from one point to another source, one source to another source. Depending on their generation of waste, we need to move the waste to central location, which can also increase the greenhouse gas emissions, and the risk is high. The central location may become overloaded. It cannot process the amount of waste generated by the area, and decentralized method. The waste can collected locally and the waste is segregated at the source into biodegradable and non-biodegradable waste. At the source level, we can segregate the waste, and that can manage easily. That can transport to the processing units in decentralized method. The output of daily waste depending on dietary habits and lifestyle, living standards, and degree of urbanization and industrialization. These can impact the generation of daily waste. The highest waste is producing as paper waste, about 30%, and 40% of waste from food materials as kitchen waste. And another important source is waste is plastic waste. 12% of waste generation every day, depending on the factors, dietary habits, lifestyles, and urbanization, industrialization, and life standards, living standards are impacting the generation of the waste materials. Then treatment and disposal of waste. The popular methods are there in treatment of and disposal of waste, municipal solid waste, sanitary landfilling, incineration, and composting methods. The sanitary landfilling. It is a method of disposing of waste on land without creating nuisances and are hazardous to public health or safety. The careful preparation of the area, including the use of clay and synthetic liners and control of water drainage. It is a scientific method. In this process, the waste cannot be reused or recycled. Spread as thin layer in low-lying areas across the area, a layer of the soil is added after each layer of garbage. However, once this process is complete, the area is unfit for construction of buildings for up to 20 years, but it can use as playgrounds or a park. The sanitary landfills where waste is covered or allowed to decompose, it is isolated from the environment for safe waste disposal. The waste, when completely degraded biologically or chemically, physically, is considered safe. The disadvantages of sanitary landfilling requires top daily cover, which might be costly, and water, air pollution, breeding places for vectors of diseases if improperly managed. If improperly managed, this solid waste landfilling, vector disease can cause the surrounding people and require adequate management and require daily cover on the top layer. It might be costly. And incineration, it is a combustion process by burning of garbage and residue. The process of controlled combustion of garbage to reduce it to incombustible matter, such as ash and waste gas. The exhaust gases from this process may be toxic and hence it treated before being released into the environment. This process reduces the volume of waste up to 90% waste. We can reduce the volume by this process incineration. And also it is considered as one of the most hygienic method of waste disposal. In some cases, the heat generated used to produce electricity. In some cases, consider this process not quite environmentally friendly due to the generation of greenhouse gases, carbon dioxide, and carbon monoxide in this incineration process. So, these are not environmental friendly process. And advantages and disadvantages of incineration of waste. The advantages can be effectively manage the waste in this process, decreases the waste value, up to 90%. And source of energy such as stream. The energy source is the source of energy is as streams, and disadvantage it can increase the air pollution, and it is cost effective, expensive process. And another one is the composting method. It is the controlled biological decomposition. All the organic materials decompose with certain time. The food scraps, yard waste, garden waste, major organic waste that we throw every day, the environment surroundings. The, that can be decompose naturally. The process of composting starts with this organic waste being burned under the layers of soil, then left to decay under the action of microorganisms. The microorganisms such as bacteria and fungi can decompose this organic material that can convert into manure. This formation of manure, nutrient-rich manure, and this process also ensure the nutrients and replenishment of this soil. This improves the soil fertility and improve the soil quality. And besides enriching the quality of soil, composting also increases water retention capacity, water holding capacity. In agriculture, it is best alternative method. Composting method is alternative methods to chemical fertilizers. The air, water, and food needs to decompose the organic waste. It needs to moisturize before the composting. The fresh green waste, animal and plant residues, leaves and vegetable waste decompose. All these are in green category of waste. These are composting systems, bins used to composting method to produce the manure. And another important method is vermicomposting. The vermicomposting using worms for the degradation of organic matter material into nutrient-rich manure. The worms consume and digest the organic matter. The byproducts of the digestion, which excreted by the worms, that make the soil in nutrient manner, enhancing the growth of the bacteria, enhancing the growth of the bacteria and fungi. And the vermicomposting method is also more effective than traditional composting. The 5 R's of zero waste. We can manage the waste in this 5R system, 5R method. Reduce, refuse, reduce, reuse, recycle, and rot, repurpose. This can improve the environment quality. These 5 R's aim is zero waste. The first one is the refuse. Refuse to buy or accept products that can harm to humans and the environment, and refuse the chemicals, solvents, and use the alternatives based on water. And refuse to receive the materials from suppliers with unnecessary package. We use our own carry bags. And next one is the reduce. The reduce the energy use and stick to the basic requirements. Minimum to reduce the use of resources, control the use of non-renewable natural resources, and another one is the reuse. Reuse packaging materials, drums, bubble wrap packaging, peanuts, reuse printer cartridges that we fill again, and reuse shipping containers. For example, boxes, innards, and cartons. Carton boxes we can reuse, and usable water bottles and mugs. Slowly replace any single-use items with reusable ones in this reuse purpose. And recycle. Recycles all the basics: paper, plastic, metals, and glass. Recycle all fabrics, including cloths, electronics, if possible, and that subjected all the materials to a chemical process to recycle them into new form. For example, plastic waste management. The used plastic we are converting into another useful material or article as furniture, plastic furniture. And the final one is the last one is the fire rot. Zero waste living. The compost, scientifically speaking, composting biodegradable items in our backyards releases fewer greenhouse gases into the environment that can sending into the landfill, and composting also significantly reduce the waste production, and the composting we use in gardening and in agriculture process. The waste is reducing into useful manure. And there are a number of different waste treatment technologies, the disposal, recycling, storage, and energy recovery from all the waste types. Each type of waste has its own associated methods for waste management. The current scenario, India and solid waste management. On the daily basis, the country produces 1.5 lakh metric tons of waste, solid waste. The total collected waste, only 20% is processed, the remaining 80% dumped into the landfill sites in India. The waste per Indian cities, highest waste generating in Mumbai, 95,000 metric tons per day. These are the major cities in India generating the waste materials. The number says the production of waste. Municipal service generated across the India million metric tons per year. In 2031, 2041 is the estimation of waste generation. And the next, plastic. India generates 26,000 tons of plastic waste per day. The massive plastic collection drive been conducted and booked 4024 metric tons plastic waste. Uses collected on 21st December, October 2019. On World Environment Day on 5th June 2017, the Government of India announced a national strategy to phase out all forms of single-use of plastic, cultural, straw, and containers by the 2022. And a total of 18 states and union territories have banned the plastic pollution, plastic usage, single-use plastics, waste collection and transport. The MOEFCC estimates state only 70 to 80% of total municipal solid waste gets collected and only 20 to 28% gets processed. And every year, every day, a large portion of collected waste is often dumped indiscriminately, calling the drains and surface systems. The various methods, technologies currently adapted by India to waste management. These are composting, biomethanation, recycling, and incineration and pyrolysis methods using for waste management. In that first one is the composting. Composting is a process which organic waste broken down by microorganisms, generally bacteria and fungi that decompose the waste material into simpler forms. The microorganisms use the carbon as waste energy source, and the degradation of nitrogen containing material results in breakdown of organic materials into much more uniform product. The heat generated during the process of composting, the advantages of composting is reduction of waste volume, reduction of waste, and elimination of heat-killed pests, and the generation of beneficial material, manure. Compost, when we add the compost to soil, that increases the organic matter content in soil, then it turns into many soil characteristics improve and improve the nutrient content and water retention period, water holding capacity increase with this manure. So composting is the best method in agriculture, is the sustainable method in solid waste management. And next one is the biomethanation. It is the process of organic material microbiologically converted under the anaerobic conditions to biogas. It is called biomethanation. Some main physiological groups of microorganisms involved in this biomethanation process that are fermenting bacteria, organic acid, oxidizing bacteria, and methanogenic bacteria used in biomethanation process. Biomethanation, also called anaerobic digestion, a process of environmentally begin disposal of various organic waste. Organic waste such as food waste, municipal solid waste, and crop residues. In this process, organic waste is converted into biogas in the presence of microorganisms under anaerobic conditions. And this biomethanation process is a natural process where microorganisms break down organic matter in an oxygen-free environment because anaerobic bacteria involving in this biomethanation process producing biogas. The biogas is primarily methane gas. And the effluent is nutrient-rich effluent that can be used as manure. This process can be harnessed and designed bioreactors to generate renewable energy and this valuable fertilizer in designed bioreactors process used this process bioreactors to generate the renewable energy and valuable fertilizer. Next, recycle. Recycling of waste products is very important and it helps in processing waste and used products in useful form or new products. It is called recyclable waste. Recycling also helps in controlling the air pollution, water and land pollution, as well as and recycling uses less energy. There are a number of items that can be recycled. For example, paper, plastic, glass, we can recycle. The recycling of paper today, over half of the total paper used by the humans collected and recycled in every day. The paper is considered the major component of the solid waste. In solid waste management, paper is the major component. The solid waste makes 50% of garbage in landfills. The recycling of waste can reduce the volume of the municipal solid waste. After breaking down the paper waste, sometimes it breaks down into cellulose. Recycling is essential method to minimize the waste accumulation and reduce the pollution. This method is an excellent and cost efficient way to conserving the environment and save energy method. Recycling of plastics. Nowadays, recycling of plastic waste is very important. If plastics are not recycled properly in time, then they mix with other chemicals, other materials that can become more difficult to recycle. And it will be source of pollution. The plastics are non-biodegradable and they do not get decomposed by microbial actions. Because it is important to use the polymers or biodegradable polymers in the production of plastic. The recycling of waste help in protection of environment and recycling helps in reducing the air, water and soil pollutions. Recycling helps in conserving the natural resources and recycling helps in saving the energy because if not recycled, it takes more energy to produce items. So recycling result the price of products can now be cheap and energy efficient. And next one is the processing technology method, adopted method by India, incineration. Incineration method is widely used method to reduce the volume of municipal solid waste, to reduce the potential of infectious properties and volume of medical waste, and to reduce the potential toxicity and volume of hazardous chemicals and biological waste. The incineration is a waste treatment process that involves in combustion of substances, waste substances that combined in waste materials. The industrial plants for waste incineration are commonly using in waste to energy facilities. Many industries are using this method to produce energy from the waste to energy. The incineration and other high temperature waste treatment systems are described thermal treatments. And next one is the pyrolysis. Pyrolysis is the highly elevated temperatures in relatively inert atmosphere in order to facilitate their thermal decomposition is the pyrolysis. The process of pyrolysis is widely used in breakdown of organic substances. For example, the charring of wood, incomplete combustion of wood that results in the formation of charcoal. Formation of charcoal involved in process of pyrolysis. Typically, pyrolysis of anorganic substances that will produce multiple volatile products, and it will leave behind a solid residue which often highly enriched with carbon. It can be extreme pyrolysis, which often leaves only carbon as a residue, known as carbonization. Pyrolysis is widely considered as the initial step for the related process such as combustion and gasification process. Next, roles of NGOs. During the recent years, non-governmental organizations have taken up initiative to work with the local residents to improve the sanitation in urban areas, especially the NGOs have been playing active role in organizing surveys, studies, and organizing such activities to waste management. Especially in the field of waste management, NGOs are effectively working to minimize the effects on environment. The NGOs involving the industries, stakeholders to improve the sustainability, the waste management policies. Different waste management policies involved in the Indian Environmental Acts that includes Environmental Protection Act, Hazardous Waste Management Rules, 1989, Biomedical Waste Rules, 1998, Municipal Solid Waste Rules, 2000 Waste Management Act, and Solid Waste Management Policy 2006, and many other acts involved in waste management. These all acts are involved in waste management process. The sustainable features of solid waste management rules 2016